Good day, welcome back to tuition2you.com with Vincent. We are now in SPM trial paper 2022 discussion, and we are going to start with our first trial paper, which is Sekolah Berasrama Penuh SBP trial paper, which is considered as one of the more important trial papers that you can get. And we are going to start with our first question, which is the first structure question. So let's go in straight into the question. So when you are reading the question for exam, one mistake that normally students do is they rush through the question. They don't read every sentence that is given in the question. Every sentence, every diagram that is in the question is important. Sometimes they provide us clue with clues for us to answer the question. Don't skip. That means, for example, some students, when they are doing this question, they go straight to this. They go straight to question A, but based on diagram 1, state the nutrient absorbed by the plant. That means they don't read the statement that is given here. Many a times, it is common that sometimes clues are given in the question. So don't skip everything you have to read. So if you read what's given here is, diagram 1 shows mineral salt absorption to obtain nutrient by the plant. So indirectly they have already given us clue that the plant is absorbing nutrient. An example of nutrient is mineral salt. So it's already provided in the question that the plant is absorbing nutrient. An example of nutrient is mineral salt. So mineral salts are nutrients that are absorbed by the plant. They have a diagram, and then under that, let's see what we have. Based on diagram 1, state the nutrient absorbed by the plant. So I look back at the clue, they already tell me it's mineral salt. So mineral salt is the nutrient that is absorbed by the plant. And I also follow instruction, which is the question mentioned based on diagram 1. Whenever I see this statement, based on something, I always follow instruction. I look at whatever that is mentioned. Like here, they mention diagram 1, so I make sure I look at diagram 1 because most probably the answer is already there. So state the nutrients absorbed by the plant. So I look at diagram 1 and automatically I see this NO3 minus here. What is NO3 minus? Is nitrate ions. So that's the answer. So the reason why they ask us to look at the diagram is because the diagram has the answer that we need. So all you have to do is identify this as nitrate ion and write that as the answer. So it's nitrate ions. That should give you 1 mark. Nitrate ions. Take note that I didn't create anything. I follow instruction. They ask me to look at the diagram. I look at the diagram. What I see, I use it as the answer. So nitrate ion, that gives me 1 mark. Then I go to the next question. So classify the nutrients named in A1 according to the quantity that is required by the plant. So if you have done your revision, you should know that nutrients required by the plant we divide into 2. We have macronutrient and micronutrient. That's the only 2. And macronutrient, micronutrient, generally from the name, micronutrient is needed in small quantity. Macronutrients are needed in large quantity. That's the only 2. We have macronutrient, micronutrient. From the name itself, micronutrient needed in small quantity. Generally, they are not that important for exam. Make sure you know what are the macronutrients. One of the easiest way to remember macronutrients is remember all the elements that you can get in protein. Chapter 4 from 4 you learn protein. Protein contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus. All the elements that you have in protein are macronutrients. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus. Besides this list, another 3 that you need to know is to make the cell wall, the plant needs calcium ions. To make chlorophyll, the plant needs magnesium ion. And to regulate osmosis, they need potassium ion. So potassium ion, magnesium ion, calcium ion, plus everything that you have in the protein: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus. That's all. That are the macronutrients. If there is a question about nutrients needed by the plant, it should be macronutrient. So this is nitrate. Nitrate contains nitrogen. That means it's a macronutrient. In case they ask you what is the definition of macronutrient, it's already in the question. Quantity required by the plant. Macronutrients are nutrients that are needed by the plant in large quantity to maintain optimal growth and survival. Needed in large quantity should be macronutrient. So that's considered bonus 2 marks for us. We go to the next page, and in the next page, the first question that we have is, explain the effect of nutrient deficiency named in A1 on the growth of the plant. An observant student will automatically realize that one of the answer is already in the question. What is the effect to the growth of the plant? Is deficiency. If deficiency, that means the growth will be affected. The plant is going to have stunted growth. That's already 1 mark. So we know the answer is going to be the plant have the growth rate decreases. The plant have stunted growth. That's 1 mark, and you have to use the clues given in the question. It mentions effect on the growth. So make sure you mention the plant have stunted growth, the rate of growth decreases. That's 1 mark. But you need to relate why the growth is decreasing to deficiency of the nutrient. What was the nutrient we named earlier? Nitrate, nitrogen. What is the function of nitrogen? Nitrogen is needed for synthesis of tissues, and the tissues are needed for growth of the plant. So if there is nitrogen, there is synthesis of tissue, the growth will be optimal. If there is deficiency, you just write the opposite of the function. Nitrogen, synthesis protein. Less nitrogen, less synthesis of protein, less synthesis of plant tissues, less growth, stunted growth. That's all. That's how easy the answer is supposed to be. If you read the question, you understand the question has clue. What is the effect on the growth of the plant? Make sure your answer is something to do with growth of the plant. So the answer that we are going to provide, the first point that we are going to provide is, I call this type of question as antonym questions. Writing the opposite of what you learn in class. Nitrogen, synthesis, protein, growth. Less nitrogen, less synthesis protein, less growth. Writing the opposite is going to give you the mark. So the first point is there's going to be less protein synthesis. Less nitrogen, less protein synthesis. Maybe you can add this by adding less protein synthesis, less tissue synthesis. So we can add in less tissue synthesis. So less protein synthesis, less tissue synthesis, meaning what's going to happen to the plant? The plant is going to have stunted growth. So maybe you can mention the rate of growth decreases, the plant have stunted growth. That should give you 1 mark. So that's already 2 marks. If you note, the first sentence is actually the function of nitrogen, but you write the opposite of the function. Have nitrogen, have protein synthesis, have tissue. Now you write opposite. Less nitrogen, less protein synthesis, less tissue. If there is tissue, the growth rate is high, the plant have optimal growth. Now because there is less tissue synthesis, so maybe we can add here. So rate of growth decreases, the plant has stunted growth. That's the 2 marks. So normally if the question asks us to explain, we try to make sure our answer is long. Just writing less protein synthesis is not enough. We have to make the answer longer. Because there is less protein synthesis, there is less tissue synthesis. We call this as the cause. This is the cause and this is the effect. Or we can also say this is the point and this is the explanation. Point and explanation. So make sure if the question asks you to explain, you have the cause and effect, or you have the point and also the explanation. That will make sure we get the 1 mark. Same thing for the second sentence. A rate of growth decrease is the point. The plant has stunted growth is the explanation. Combine, you can get your 2 marks. There is another answer that is provided in the marking scheme, and maybe many students don't realize that the nitrogen is also needed for synthesis of chlorophyll. Nitrogen is needed for synthesis of chlorophyll. Deficiency of nitrogen will cause yellowing of the leaves. Yellowing of the leaf is known as chlorosis. So maybe the student don't remember. You're supposed to remember anyway. The question where which one of these nutrients deficiency causes yellowing of the leaf is quite famous objective question. Nitrogen is one of them. But what I want to highlight to you is in this same exam paper there is already answer. The chlorosis is already given but not in this question. This is question number 1. So if you flip through the pages, somewhere in later questions, which is question number 7. So if you look at question number 7, in the second, the question C of question 7 in the same question paper, they already have this word, leaves of the tomato plant in the palm has chlorosis. So that means the answer for question number 1, you can actually get it from question number 7 if you realize. So when you are reading the question, when you come to question number 7, you see the word chlorosis, that should give you a clue. Hey, the word chlorosis is here. Maybe I can use it for the answer. If you want, you can go back to the first question that you were doing earlier, and maybe you can add that as the answer, because it's in the, you read it later in the one of the question 7. If you want, you can add it here. So that is why I have another answer here. The leaf have chlorosis. So to make this answer better, to make sure I have the cause and effect, so less chlorophyll synthesis, the leaf have chlorosis. So this is the answer. You actually only need 2 points. I'm giving you 3 answers, but I just wanted to highlight that sometimes this is for SPM. Sometimes when you're reading other questions, you will find some clues for one of the question you read earlier. So this is question 1. Later when you go to question 7, you can find the answer for chlorosis. Less chlorophyll synthesis, the leaf have chlorophyll is another answer. So you write any 2 out of the 3 answers I gave here, you can get your 2 marks. Question B1. Name X. So we have to go back to the diagram and look at what is X. So looking at X is quite obvious. This is root hair. If this is the cross section of the root, all of these structures must be the root hair. So that's a bonus question. So we can just write the answer 3. So this is root hair. So that's bonus 1 mark. Name the tissue that is involved in the transport of nutrients absorbed by X. When you think of root absorbs water, root absorbs mineral ion. Another clue I want to give you, anytime you see root, anytime you see mineral ion, your mind should automatically go to active transport. Many times, objective question for example, which one of these is active transport? Look for root hair, look for mineral ion, automatically is active transport. There is no question here about active transport, but I'm reminding you that if you see root hair, if you see mineral ion, the method mineral ions are transported into the root is active transport. So just a reminder, in here they are asking you, after the mineral ion is absorbed, after the water is absorbed, what is the tissue that transports them? Transporting water, transporting mineral ion needs to be xylem. So that should give you another 1 mark. So by right, this 8 marks or this 6 marks for the first structure question should be a bonus question. If you note, we got the first answer from the diagram. The second answer is the clue given quantity. If you need large quantity, is macronutrient. The third question, one of the answer already in the question, effect to the growth, the plant have stunted growth. We just have to make sure we relate to the nitrogen. Less protein synthesis, less tissue synthesis, lower rate of growth, stunted growth. I showed you that you can get another answer from question number 7. Nitrogen is also needed for synthesis of chlorophyll. So what is X? If it's root, they have root head. If they absorb water, if they absorb mineral ion, it will be transported by xylem. So this is considered a bonus question. You must get the 6 marks. I'll see you in the second question after this.